because if you look at that ratio chart, there's only one time. I think there's that recent low in the silver gold ratio. There was only one time when the ratio dropped lower, and that was during the COVID scamdemic, the
Yeah,
paranoia in early 2020. But
yeah,
apart from that, it's never been lower, which
yeah,
to me is,
and it's surprising that it went below one here.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that is the most encouraging chart of all because it's
yeah,
a sign. The psychology of this is that when the silver gold ratio is high, it means that there's high retail or speculative interest. Because if you're trying to maximize your gains, you go for silver because of the leverage.
yeah.
But because people are still basically cautious towards the sector, they're not so interested in silver as they are in gold because gold's, it's a more steady sort of mainstream investment. Silver's more speculative. So if there's low interest in silver, and therefore a low silver to gold ratio, it's a sign that there's still very little retail or speculative interest in the sector, which is extremely bullish.
Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Clive Maund. And it's interesting because I used to read his analysis, uh, well, way before the '08 crisis on 321gold.com. And the other day, one of his YouTube videos popped up, and he's a technical analyst and covered gold and silver and other commodities. And I thought to myself, yeah, I know this guy, and he was really bullish, gold and silver. And some people might think, well, he's a perma bull, but that's not true. He has made some interesting calls in silver in the past. So Clive, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, and I saw, Clive, that 321 Gold, they have an archive. And yeah, your first article there was back in December 2003. So you've been at this for a long time.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because it's actually Bob Moriarty of 321 Gold who actually got me started with my website, cliveborn.com, because what happened originally is that I submitted a few articles to 321 Gold and one or two other sites like Gold Eagle and some other sites that don't exist now. And I submitted an article to 321 Gold called The Sun Rises on the Yellow Metal, which was in about 2001. And Bob really liked it, wrote back to me in a very positive manner, and it encouraged me to start my own site.
Yeah, so here it is, Clive Mon Archives. I've got some archives in there, not that many, but yeah, as you see, yeah. So you call the Sun,
Well, if it goes right back to the start, Mario,
yeah,
the actual title of the article, so I've still got a paper version of it somewhere,
yeah.
is "The Sun Rises on the Yellow Metal," which was
And that
following
was in
from.
2001.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know if it's on in the archive or not now. I
It's
don't think
not
it is. No.
I think 2003 is the earliest, but
Yeah,
I mean, that was an interesting call because I mean, you could argue it's 99 or '01, but the sun was rising on
yeah.
gold and it's really high now. So that's uh, what I wanted to talk about today, of course, because before we came on, I said that you weren't always bullish on gold and silver, but now you said you're mega bullish. But before we go into that, just wanted to share some of the calls that you made. The first one is for silver back in 2011. And of course, that was a huge move down. I mean, this was back in when after silver almost touched 50. There's speculation that it was
Yeah.
JP Morgan who dumped that. But then you made a call here, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
should I bring the other one up? Because,
Yeah, that was the actual call, and
yeah,
I think it plunged about 4 days later. And I had after that I was contacted by a subscriber who said he bought his wife a new Dodge Charger with the money he made out of silver puts.
oh, great. I think, I might have subscribed to your service back then. I think I must certainly have done. But anyway, could you Explain to the
Well, what was interesting,
why
yeah.
you made that call. Yeah.
Well, the reason was, Mary, that I saw that it was making, I spotted at the time that it was doing an ABC correction, which means that you get an A wave down towards the 200-day moving average. Then you get a false rally, um, or what you might call a sucker rally, which was the B wave. And at that time, at the time of the B wave, many investors still thought that the silver bull market was still on. And I correctly figured out, by about the second week in September, that this rally was a trap, and that there was going to be a drop, and the drop would be very severe because mostly because it wasn't expected at all. And severe it was, as you can see, because the other chart, it
Yeah.
absolutely plunged.
Was the momentum that signaled to you that there's something
Yes, yeah, well, that was one
because
reason.
that's
Yes,
divergent, isn't it?
yeah,
Usually
yes,
you have
extreme.
higher highs and you're having
Yeah, well, not
here.
only that, but if you compare that peak in for momentum, the MACD in August and September to the peak back in April, you can see it's way below it. So
And the
that was
volume was
another.
going down too, right?
Yeah, there was poor upside volume as well on that B wave rally. So that's what gave the game away.
And that was the actual, I mean, it plunged from 40 to like mid 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. It was finding support, you see there at the rising 50-day moving average, which is also deceptive because the moving averages were both still rising at that time.
I
It
see.
was finding support at the 50-day. And of course, once that support broke, it caved in.
Yeah. So there's another call you made for oil, and that's the call here, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
W-
that's right. Yeah, I figured out, I think it was, yeah, in the middle of 2008, that oil was riding for a fall. But I must, to be honest, it stunned me how big the fall was. I predicted a big drop. At that time, I remember I said that if the expectation of a possible war in the Middle East was not forthcoming, then there was a lot of war premium in the oil price and it would plunge. But of course, the ball was kicked downhill because not only was there not a war in the Middle East and it fell, but the ball was kicked downhill by the 2008 general stock market crash. So if you look at the chart that follows, you can
Oh,
see
yeah,
um,
that one. Yeah.
that one.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Huge.
really severe. Yes, that's right.
Did any subscriber make a lot of money on that one and buy a car?
I don't recall with that one. I
Okay.
don't recall, but
Yeah.
but they could have done. I mean, anybody who'd shorted oil, they would have made an absolute fortune, or
Yeah.
oil puts or derivatives or whatever.
Yeah. So, like today, this video, you're probably watching it on Saturday, September 6th, but we're actually talking on Friday, September 5th, just
Hmm.
a couple of hours after the non-farm payroll number. And gold is at 35.94 at the spot price. High has been 98, and silver is up 60 cents at 41.26. So the market looks pretty good short.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, I think that what's most encouraging, I've been harking on about silver in recent weeks because it's way undervalued relative to gold, and it's always the case that silver brings up the rear. So gold
yeah,
romps ahead at the start of a major sector bull market, and then silver gets its act together later. We can see that happening now. So what I found most encouraging for the entire sector was gold's break higher. I think it was on Monday. Uh, Gold broke strongly higher early this week. I think it was early this week. It may even have been on
I think it
Friday,
was
but
Friday. Yeah.
oh yeah,
You want
yeah,
to
yeah. I'm
bring
not.
do you want me to bring the
Okay, yeah.
gold pennant chart? And I remember Clive back in the early in 2002, 3, 4, gold led the way
Hmm.
there, and it was only 05, 06 that silver started moving.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
So here's the
But
gold chart.
yes, that's right. Now that because that bull pennant in gold was so long, it went on from April. It's completely allowed gold to charge up for the next run. So this breakout that we saw on Friday marks the start of a really major move, in my opinion. And this move, which should take it at least several $100s higher, I'm pretty sure will lead to a breakout by silver above $50, which is its all-time highs, 50.25, I think was the all-time high of
Yeah.
silver, which interestingly, the high, I think, in 1980 is more or less coincident with the high in April 2011,
Yeah, it
April,
was
May, I think it
around
was.
$50, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
around $50. And so, of course, once silver breaks above that high, there is a little bit of residual resistance in the $50 area. Not actually much, because there wasn't much trading done there, but it's an important psychological level because, of course, if silver breaks above $50 or 50.25 to be exact, it's going to be at a new all-time high. And that will have a major positive psychological effect. And I expect it to accelerate away to the upside.
Yeah, I do quite a bit of technical analysis as well, and I measured that from the beginning of the year when gold was at 2,600 to
Mm.
here was $900. So
Yes, it was a
now
very
that,
big move.
yeah, now that we've broken this out, you add 900
Oh
to
yeah,
that,
because
and you get 4,300 or something.
yeah,
So is that the kind of move you're seeing?
yeah.
And
I
what
don't see
about
why not.
I know the moving average MACD is still got a lot of room, but it looks like the RSI is a bit.
No, that's just a short-term thing, and that's why we've seen a little bit of
Yeah,
zigzagging this week. It's just working
yeah.
off of
I
short-term.
see. I see.
That's a very short-term indicator, so it doesn't worry me too
Yeah,
much. And
yeah,
it can stay high. It goes up and stays up sometimes,
yeah.
so it doesn't
So
concern me really.
let's do you want to go have a look at silver now?
Uh-huh.
So I've got the cup and handle one. Let me bring that up. Maybe you can talk about that. There it is.
Ah, yeah. This is really a very interesting chart because it shows the entirety of the 2000s bull market, which actually looks quite orderly. And the interesting thing is that you even have a kind of definable uptrend despite the 2008 market crash, which we can see on here, which took the metals down temporarily. And what's also interesting about this chart is that once silver topped out in 2011, it then, you could say it had a bear market, but once it had run its course, it wasn't the whole thing from 2011 looks like a gigantic consolidation pattern, which is why I labeled it as in this case, it is a cup and handle base because it had something of a drop from 2011 through 2012, 13. But the whole thing can be viewed as a consolidation pattern, really.
Yeah.
And there was some reaction involved, but now you see having broken out of that cup and handle pattern, it's advancing towards the major breakout above the 2011 highs.
Yeah, and the thing is that teacup and handle is actually a handle of a much bigger teacup going
That's right.
to
Yeah, that's right.
1980, isn't it? So it's
Well,
a
that's right, because I watched a video by Mike Maloney the other day, who's very good at this sort of thing, and he pointed out he had a massive chart there going back to I think it was the late 1970s or something, and he pointed out that the great 2000s bull market from 2001, 2002 up to 2011 is actually the right side of a gigantic cup going back to 1980,
yeah,
which means that the action since 2011 is is the handle of this much bigger cup and handle.
yeah. I've got another one here. This is the
Oh, Mario, if you could go back to that chart a second, because
oh yeah.
I want to point out two other things before we moving on from
Let
this
me
chart.
bring it
But
up because
very important bullish factors I want to point out on that same
yeah,
chart. What
yeah.
that one
Hold
we were
on.
just looking at.
I have to bring it back because I deleted it, but I've got it now. Here you go.
Ah, right. Just two other things that are worth pointing out on that chart, Mario. First of all, take a look at gold, which is shown at the top of the chart. And
Yeah.
look, you can see how much it's risen since the start of last year. And that obviously is a major positive background factor for silver, which will encourage its breakout above $50. Plus, which is also extremely important, we have a separate chart for this actually. Below the chart, or towards the bottom of the chart, you can see the silver to gold ratio, which is still at a historically very low level,
Yeah.
which means
So
that there's
sorry.
there's very yeah, that means there's very little. retail or
Downside. Yeah.
yeah, or speculative interest in the sector, even now, even after this big rise in gold and the breakout by GDX and so on, and
Yeah.
the XAU index to new highs, there's still not very much speculative or retail interest in the precious metal sector.
Yeah, and you do the average the other way around than most people.
Yeah,
Well, that's you get that's 1%, so silver
mm,
just over 1% of the gold price instead of
yeah,
the gold silver ratio. Uh,
yeah,
and I think I don't know if you've heard of Michael Oliver of Momentum Structural Analysis.
yeah. I've heard of him. Yeah.
He plots it like that too, like you. So, I mean, back in 2011, the price of silver was 3% almost the price of gold.
Well, I do it that way, Mary, because it shows. I'm showing it like that to show the undervaluation of silver, which you can
Yeah,
see visually, regardless of the numbers on the scale.
yeah. So let's say, I mean, if it took like 4 months for gold to go from 2,600 to 3,500. So like January to April. So the breakout now in September, you add 4 months. That's like January next year. And January is usually that's when gold made an all-time high in 1980. So it's
Mm.
seasonally a good month, and silver as well. Is that when you could see gold going towards like 4,300? And if
Yes.
yeah, and if so, where would you see silver?
Well, if gold goes up to what's four, did you say 4,300, 4,100?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see silver at, say, 70 or 80, maybe on its way to 100.
I see, I see. So do you want to move to another chart now?
Yeah, yeah, I was just wanted to cover those points.
Yeah, which one? Let's see. We've got that bowl handle, the 7-year silver chart. Is that?
Yes, okay, yeah, we could look at that, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Here we go.
Yes, this is interesting because this chart, because you can see, do you remember in the spring of 2020 at the time, at the height of that COVID paranoia, when it looked like the world was coming to an end and the oil price dropped to practically zero, which is why you see that crazy low in silver in
Yeah, I remember.
March, April of 2000. But after that extreme low, the price rocketed higher in 2000. But essentially, it did nothing after that for years, up until what,
Yeah,
last year?
up until last
Yeah.
year. And even I mean, even this year, it still hadn't really gone back up above 30 definitively. So yeah, it's
No.
been a long time. And the
Yeah.
oil went to like negative 38 or something, didn't
Yeah.
it?
I know it was absolutely crazy at that
Yeah,
time. That's right.
because I think it was because you couldn't store the oil in Oklahoma. So
Ah, yeah. There was some
pe-
crazy story
yeah,
like that because
people
they had
that
mass.
yeah, sorry, people that took delivery of the oil, they couldn't get rid of it, so they were paying people to take it from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that story. Yeah. It was absolutely insane. Yeah, so what's happened here is that after that initial relief rally out of those freak lows in spring of 2020, silver went into a large consolidation pattern, which is actually the handle of that cup and handle that we looked on the chart previously. And this handle pattern breaks down, as we can see, into what's called a head and shoulders continuation pattern. And that leads to another bull market rally. And the interesting thing is you can see how the silver price is being shepherded higher by that huge bowl pattern that started to form back in 2020. And that bowl is now driving it towards a breakout above $50.
Yeah, I mean, recently we broke through like 35.50
Hmm.
or 35.60. I don't see that much resistance until 50.
No. Well, here's the interesting thing, though, right? Which you were saying about how it hasn't really done all that much. It's been dithering around in the 30s. Even as gold has romped ahead. That's true. But the way I see this bowl pattern driving the price higher, it's rather like think of it rather like a pan on the stove being brought slowly to the boil, And if you've got one of those old-fashioned stoves, you see small bubbles forming, and it gets slowly gets hotter and hotter, and then all of a sudden it reaches boiling point and it takes off. And I think that's what's happening with this. And we're arriving at we're at boiling point virtually now. It's just about to burst out above $50 very soon. I think it could fiddle around a little bit more because it's about 40, whatever it is, 42 or so.
Yeah.
It could, diver around a bit longer between 40 and 50 before it really makes up its mind and gets on with it. But with gold driving up towards, say, 4,300, it's going to be sooner, I think, rather than later, that it breaks out decisively and really takes off like a rocket, I think.
And you got the
Because,
other, sorry, you got the other longer term
hmm,
and so to speak, from 1980. So there's a lot of bubbling going on.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as Mike Maloney correctly pointed out, there's a huge short position in silver. I mean, it's enormous, apparently. And of course, if these people get freaked out by a continued rise in the silver price and suddenly decide there could be a mad stampede, short covering, um, a big short covering, which would drive the price much higher. A stampede for the exits, that's what I was trying to say,
Yeah.
and which could drive a really big rally. It could get up to $100 very quickly.
And do you want to talk about the GDX and the here or?
Yeah, I don't have a. Sorry, that's GDX at the top there. That's right. Yes. Well, it's interesting because GDX actually broke out only recently. I think it was in the last few weeks. It finally broke out above its 2011 highs, which I regard as most auspicious. And interestingly, when it did that, it was actually moving ahead of the metals. And I think that's a very, very bullish sign indeed. And the big gold companies in particular, producers, are making money hand over fist now
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of these high gold because they're all in sustaining costs. They're not going up or not going up very much. They might be going up due to inflation or rising fuel costs or whatever, but nowhere near as much as gold itself. So, probably the mid and large cap gold stocks in particular are going to be making huge amounts of money, and that's going to translate through into big gains in the stock prices as it always does.
yeah. And the sector is still overlooked by a lot of investors, I think.
Yes, yes, which is that's the importance of that silver to gold ratio. It's a
Yeah,
really, really important point to emphasize. And regarding that, you remember that in the past, like for example in 2008, or even in the time of the COVID crash, if the stock market drops hard, it's had a tendency in the past to take the metals down with it because the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater.
yeah,
But there's 2 points I want to make with respect to that. One is that I feel that because the vast majority of stocks are now owned by what are called the 1 or 2 percenters, the super wealthy, who have great influence over what the Federal Reserve does and so on. I think it's more likely that a stock market crash would be averted by the Federal Reserve just continuing to create money out of thin air at a prodigious rate in order to protect the super wealthy. And that will translate through to inflation or hyperinflation, which will be where the little guy gets stuck holding the bag, or picking up the tab for it all. But the super wealthy who own most of the stock market, well, they'll be laughing, because they have the stock market basically propped up by the Federal Reserve or other central banks around the world. So that's my take on that. And also, this is another thing that Mike Maloney pointed out a few days back. Even if we did see a stock market crash leading to a recession depression, he pointed out that would choke off completely the production of certain base metals, and silver is a byproduct of the production of these base metals. So the supply of silver would dry up completely, which is another reason why I think silver's the best investment around at this time.
yeah.
And
And
especially,
sorry.
and especially going back to the point, we made earlier, which was that, of it being so undervalued relative to gold. I really think, and I actually think that people who say own several properties, what you could do, apart from the property that you live in or the property that you really like, if you've got several properties standing around in a stagnant property market, it would probably be best to sell them at something of a discount to get rid of them because this property market could lock up or could even crash, and shunt the money into silver.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
The other thing is like Mac Maloney says they will keep saving the system because they can, because it's a fiat currency system. But even if there were to be a massive deflationary collapse, that will mean a lot of bankruptcies. And in the 30s, silver didn't do as well, but gold did really well. And home stake mining, there's all.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
really, it was pretty amazing, actually.
yeah, I think it's going to be more like Germany in the tw Weimar, and people who had stocks, as long as it's not banking stocks or insurance stock, they did really well, and also physical
Yeah,
silver, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some more charts here. There's let's see, there's a silver to gold ratio chart. It's a little more detailed. Do you want to?
That's right. Yeah, that's a very interesting chart. It's, it,
Let me.
for investors in the sector generally, for me personally, that's probably the most encouraging chart of all because many people. I've had some subscribers write to me and say, "Oh, well, I think gold's getting overbought here, or so silver's getting up near resistance of $50, and they're starting to get nervous."
Yeah,
And I say, "Hey, wait a minute, take a look at this.
yeah.
It's
It's just beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think so. And that's right. And I think, because if you look at that ratio chart, there's only one time, I think there's that recent low in the silver gold ratio, there was only one time when the ratio dropped lower, and that was during the COVID scamdemic, the
yeah,
paranoia in early 2020. But
yeah.
apart from that, it's never been lower, which
Yeah,
to me is
and it's surprising that it went below one here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that is the most encouraging chart of all because it's
yeah,
a sign. The psychology of this is that when the silver gold ratio is high, it means that there's high retail or speculative interest. Because if you're trying to maximize your gains, you go for silver because of the leverage.
yeah,
But because people are still basically cautious towards the sector, they're not so interested in silver as they are in gold because gold's, it's a more steady sort of mainstream investment. Silver's more speculative. So if there's low interest in silver and therefore a low silver to gold ratio, it's a sign that there's still very little retail or speculative interest in the sector, which is extremely bullish.
yeah. There, you sent a chart of a mining company. Uh,
Ah, yeah,
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 do you want to
yeah.
have? It's called Guanajuato
Well,
Silver.
yes, this is
I'll
interesting.
bring it up. I'll bring it up. So that's the kind of stuff that your service provides as well.
That's right. This is the sort of stock that
Mining. Yeah,
this is the sort of stock that this is a Mexican producer. This is the sort of stock that we
yeah,
look out for on CliveMaund.com.
yeah,
And the reason I lighted on this last week, in fact, we bought this back in February, I think it was, at a price of about 19 and a half. But the reason that I lighted on this about a week ago on the site was because of this massive. You could see that it was making these a kind of staircase advance or waveforms where you had a first wave up, then a reaction, another wave up, then a reaction, which is labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 on the chart. And you can see, all right, this thing's going to do a wave five, especially if, of course, if silver advances towards a breakout above $50. And the thing that made, for me, that was most convincing about it was that very high volume you can see on that first chart there, heavy buying and also the strong rise in the accumulation line, which was resulting from a preponderance of upside volume over the past couple of months or several months. So to me, it was almost a no-brainer that this thing was going to go up. And
yeah.
so we bought it again, about a week ago. If you go to the next chart in a second,
Let's
Mary, we'll
see.
see what happened.
Not that one. Hold on. Is it this one?
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, yeah.
Gapped up. Hmm.
It gapped up on all-time record volume. Yeah,
So do you
and
still
I
think
think that
it's
was back on. Yeah,
sorry.
let's go much higher, in my opinion. Yeah, because if you get a breakout like that with a very large gap and high volume, normally it means the stock is headed much, much higher, even if, of
Yeah,
course, it stops to consolidate the breakout move because it gets
yeah.
short-term overbought. So to me, this stock's going. It's a silver producer in Mexico. It's a good company from what I can make out. I think it's going much higher, which is what I put on the chart.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is not financial advice. This is
No.
Clive's opinion, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
you do
yeah.
your homework. But I might have a look at it. Guanajuato. What's the symbol? GS.
Yes, at the top of the chart there,
Yeah, GSVR. Yeah,
dot
this
V in
is
stock charts. Yeah,
Canadian. Yeah, GSV.
yeah, it's Canadian. Yeah, but it's
Oh,
also traded on the OTC. I can't remember the code.
oh, okay. But anyway, yeah, Clive. So I guess in the next few months, like me, you expect gold and silver to go up a lot more. What about in the medium to longer term? Do you think there's still legs in this? I guess it's a secular bull market. You could take it all the way back to when you wrote your first article in '01 that we're still
Hmm.
in it, or some
Well,
people.
I tell you what, I think this goes back to, that very long-term chart we were looking at that goes back to the start of a millennium, i.e. to the start of 2000. On that chart, which you remember, we looked at the enormous pause or consolidation pattern from the 2011 highs in silver right up to the present.
Yeah,
Well, I regard that as a massive consolidation pattern, and obviously a consolidation pattern lasting 14 years is not going to lead to a bull market lasting 6 months or a year. We're talking about a multi-year bull market in my opinion, and it could, because of what's going on in the fiat world. It could obviously, as we're heading towards hyperinflation, we could be looking at it going to levels that most people can't imagine.
yeah. I mean, I tend to agree with you about the hyperinflation because politicians and governments, well, and central bankers nowadays, the only thing they seem to be able to do or know how to do is print more and spend more.
Well, they're cornered themselves. They've painted themselves into a corner. They've
Yeah.
got basically got two choices. They either keep printing or they just pull the plug on the whole system, and everything collapses. And the banks close their doors, and it's Mad Max. So
Yeah.
they've painted themselves into a corner. And I think this is why they're starting wars and so on around the world and creating mayhem, because it partly as a distraction and also as an excuse to print more money.
Yeah. And yeah, silver, I think, yeah, is going to outperform. And a lot of people ask, so does that mean you get out of gold and but put it all into silver? I don't think so. I
Ah,
no.
yeah, I think the answer there, Mario,
Yeah.
it's like a balancing thing. So what you would do, say, so imagine you had a portfolio. And what you could imagine, you have a portfolio of gold and silver investments. At this time, what I do is I would tilt the portfolio more towards silver, simply because. But as we saw, gold's just broken out, gold's going higher anyway. You can just,
Yeah.
have a sort of 50-50 balance between the two. But as we're still in a part of the bull market where gold's going to probably perform better than silver. But I think silver's going to do a lot of catching up soon anyway. And I personally would. Because silver's still so undervalued relative to gold, I would probably actually tilt the portfolio more in the direction of silver investments. But
Yeah.
I keeping a big core holding of gold though,
Of
because
course. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, as we wrap up here, Clive, could you tell the viewers about your subscriber service on your website, clivemond.com, and what they can expect from it, and also your new YouTube channel.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, I started clivebourne.com it was back in 2003. North Mario, and it's basically a service where I look around, find good looking gold, silver, and sometimes other stocks like say base metals or oil or whatever. And when I discover a good looking stock, I write it up on the site and then try and do regular updates on it. And if I think it's topping out or it's overbought, extremely overbought, then an update is posted saying to sell it. So,
Yeah.
for example, I posted an update just this morning, just before talking with you, actually, on a company called Rackler Metals, which is one that I think Bob Moriarty wrote up on Feature One Gold a while back, and it just had a dip. It's in a very strong uptrend, but it's just dipped over the past couple of weeks. And I put out an update on it this morning, saying to buy it at a sort of buy spot. It should go up from here. So the idea is to catch the inflection points of these stocks as well, because one thing I don't like doing is if we have big gains in a stock, is to give them back to Mr. Market unnecessarily. So
Yeah.
if a stock goes up a lot, it becomes extremely overbought, and I think, maybe it's going to react 20 or 30%. We take profits.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing because I remember I got involved in miners back in oh 06, oh 05, and I was doing really well. And I did take some profit, but not enough. So it's completely different, I think, than the bullion, and you got to
Yeah.
be careful with it. And it's always nice to take some profit and maybe buy some physical gold and silver, maybe buy a car for your wife.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember a funny story that Bob Moriarty, 321 Gold, told a while ago, and he went to a casino one night. He was in a casino with this young girl, and I think she went put a load of she played one of these machines, and she won a big pot of change. And she said, "Look what I've won." He said, "What should I do?" He said, "Walk, go and cash it in and walk."
Yeah,
He said,
yeah,
"Oh no, no, it's my lucky day. I'm going to carry on playing." And then she came back a while later, sort of, "Oh, I've got nothing now."
yeah,
So there's a strong case, for if you've got a good profit in something. And another way of looking at it, of course, is if a stock's just made a big run and you've got a big profit, you can always look around and find something that hasn't made a big run
yeah,
that's about to.
yeah.
So
That's
you just, and you don't have to sell them all anyway. You can say, oh, well, it might go up further. Say, tell half, shunt it into something that looks like it's about to make a move, and let the other half run and put a stop under it to protect your profits.
yeah.
So
So
on my site, the site, the subscription, you can subscribe to it for just a month for $75, Mary, or you can do 3 months. I think it's $150, and then you can do 6 months as well. And
oh, great.
it's all very simple.
I'm gonna put a link to it in the description of this video. And I guess your YouTube channel, you just started out.
Yeah, I just started. I'm a bit kind of because I like doing what we're doing now, which is having a conversation with people.
Yeah,
I'm a bit goofy when I just talk at a machine. So I've done a few videos, and I'm sort of getting
yeah,
into my stride slowly.
yeah.
And I take a
I'll give you a tip because when I started this channel 10 years ago, yeah, it feels weird just talking to a camera, but the way to think about it is that you're talking to friends. So
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
that might
I
help.
know. Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I over the past couple of weeks, because I'm in this silver mood, if you like. I've taken to wearing a silver jacket and tie. I don't know if you can see it here,
Oh,
a
I
silver
saw
jacket.
that. Well, I saw
Yeah,
that in
the
your
reason.
video. Yeah.
And there was one, it was quite funny because there was one I did, which was partly encouraged by a friend in Australia. I've been following a stock called Astral Resources in Australia for some time, which is looking like it's going to do very well. It's a gold explorer near Kalgoorlie, and they've got their act together, and they've increased their ounces from zero to, I think it's a million or something, million and a half in about 4 years. But anyway, because it was an Australian stock, I thought, right, I ought to dress for the occasion. I put on a kind of bushman's hat and a checkered shirt or something.
Yeah.
So
We had our study renovated this year. It needed some work, and I decided to get paint it like yellow, like gold.
yeah, but I actually, if I make enough money out of it, what I should do is get myself a gold jacket and tie as well.
Yeah.
So
Like that Indian guy. Do you remember years ago that Indian guy had this huge gold jacket? Don't know if you remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good, to get into the kind of spirit of things.
Yeah. Okay, Clive. So I'm gonna put the link to your YouTube channel also in the description, and yeah, hopefully we'll talk again, and yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, Mario, and thanks for the
Welcome.
invitation to appear on your channel. It's much
Well,
appreciated.
well, you're welcome, and thank
And
you for coming on.
yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, have
Me
a great
too.
day. What's
You
left of
too.
it.